it's good. It's good in the playlist.
It seems like you like anything Burna Boy.
In as much as I love Burna Boy and I love Money Play as well, I feel it's a terrible follow-up to African Giants, to all the songs from African Giants, because if you have dropped African Giants and we listen to all those songs, I believe, though, I thought the next single you would drop would be something that would be like, whoa, even if it's a club song, but it didn't meet up to standard.
Did you try to dance to that song?
I don't dance.
Goodness, that's
I actually kind of like share his sentiments. For me, it felt like after listening to African Giant and seeing hits like On The Low, Bono, Ye, and then listening to Money Play, it's like, okay. It's just like an okay song. So that's how I feel.
Okay. How the back end works is you don't bore people. Artists have different reasons for making the music that they've made. He's done African Giant. Everyone has hailed him African Giant, African Giant. For a momentum to be carried, he needs another record that would put him in the club again. Anybody was in the club, but it's still.
So I feel like Money Play is a good song, but Bruno put us in the club as well. He gave us that vibe. On the Low gave us that club vibe as well. But Money Play is a good song, but it's from from the recent Burna, the Giants of Africa Burna. It's taking us back to the aristocrats Burna with Money Play.
I feel like the song is going to grow on people, Sha.
I don't think it's so. I really love the song for what it's doing, and well, how do I address this? It's more, yes, you have your. It's okay for you to have your opinions on where you want Burna Boy to take his artistry to, but it's also his responsibility to decide what will work for him, what will work for his people. And Money Play is not a song that can be knocked on any level. What's stressing you now, or what is limiting your ability to enjoy it, is comparison and context that you're providing to the record. But as a song in itself, is this song bad? No. Does this song have faults? No. Is this good? Is this a song that can be turned up to? Yes. People did the same thing with Wizkid when they, after listening to Brown Skin Girl, he dropped Jora and Get the Love, and people were all over the place. But after that leaves, that expectation leaves, what remains is the song.
What remains is Joro.
Yes.
Still.
And
then he came back with Jam, with Chronics.
That's a project. You can't judge artists based on singles and projects. They serve different purposes entirely, and so they make music to that. For example, Wizkid will not drop Jam as a single. If he drops it, it will hurt him. But he can drop Ghetto Love as a single because that would help him. But what he can do, he can create a body of work. And guess what he made a single on the project? Blow. He brought out Blow because it will do the work that he wants it to do for him. So it's different. Artists make music differently. They release songs differently. And if I'm A&R in any project, I know the songs that I'll make for albums. I know songs that I'll make for singles, because when you play the single game, it's way different. It's way harder and way different than when you play the album game.
Okay, let's move to DJ Neptune featuring Victor AD, Tomorrow.
I don't really like the song.
Why?
It's okay, but it drags out for me. It just drags out for me. Victor AD, great guy. Neptune, great guy. Neptune's giving us a lot of good moments. Victor AD has struggled. He struggled to replicate the success of Waiting You Day, or maybe maybe Victor AD is still growing, but Waiting You Day has put him in a position where he can't grow privately anymore, and so we're seeing him chase himself.
It's a wrap on today's episode. Remember, you can watch all episodes you missed of Tea Time on our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. Also catch the Tea Time crew live on Monday to Friday, 10:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Star Times channel 308 and 528 across Africa. My name is Nimide Kombi. Thank you for watching.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
In recent times, getting employment is a major testimony. Getting a fantastic job, that's a cat with all the cream. So in what world does anyone ever leave that sort of job? Well, in this world. Not Your 9 to 5 show covers all the seemingly questions and intrigues.
I can't work for anybody. Number of times I spent with shoes, I see shoes in my dreams sometimes.
I can't be waiting for salary. I know we have a lot of challenges.
Working for people is like starting from the scratch.
We have political issues, we have socio-economic issues, we have so many, we even have spiritual issues.
I don't think I can do 9 to 5 anymore. So this is not your regular 9 to 5.
It's my life, my world.
Join me, Amaka Okoye, on Not Your 9 to 5, showing on Monday 5:30 p.m. and Thursday 11:30 a.m. West African time.
Mona Lisa is all about me.
It's all about you.
It's all about our stories.
The stories that never get told, but ought to.
Whereby water transportation does not make financial sense, it makes economic sense.
I was there for 2.5 hours on the floor. Nobody attended to me.
If we don't take care of the poor will take care of us.
It's about getting at the root of things and hearing from the horse's mouth.
We are 15 public hospitals to make them affordable.
In the whole of Africa, we are bigger. You know, Nigeria, we sleep, eat, dream, fashion.
Those with the financial backing don't see fashion as an investment, which makes no sense.
If they do it for free, they won't have money for the next case.
Mona Lisa is about real life and real lives, yours and mine. Make a date with Mona Lisa, and together, let's ensure that the important stories get told.
Welcome to What Are You Saying? #ways.
These girls that are being trafficked, most times they are told that they're going there to work.
Absolutely.
Without even knowing who they're going to meet.
Absolutely. Polygamy is causing poverty, backwardness in the north. I think we should put a law. Have just one child.
Working with a lot of tradesmen in Nigeria, I mean, my first few years was kind of hard, but he who pays the piper takes the tune.
The type of architecture you see in New York, you see 60, 80-story buildings, is because they have a strong economy.
What has been your biggest challenge?
Availability of like machines, materials. You know, we're very, very limited in what we have.
Somebody says, oh, why am I putting in so much reinforcement? I can do it cheaper. I know the last project I did, there was no problem. You just need one bad mistake, you know, and the implication is life.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if you British citizen no be say you go enter Niger, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way dey inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Niger, every go enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Thank you for joining us on Plus TV Africa News on the Hour, where we unbundle top big stories of the day. I am Amaka Okoye. Now, the Senate has said it will seek the opinion of stakeholders on the foreign loan borrowing plans of President Muhammadu Buhari. The 8th National Assembly had rejected the president's proposed borrowing of $29.96 billion because the proposal was not accompanied by expenditure details. Buhari presented the request again to the 9th National Assembly for its consideration and approval in November of 2019. The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, had assured Buhari that his request would be granted even when the legislative protocol had not been carried out on it. Lawan's position did not go down well with members of the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Loans who had been asked to scrutinize the documents and advise the Senate on the next step to take. Feelers from some members who last year had spoken on condition of anonymity showed that they were no longer interested in the approval process. Moving on, the coalition of the United Political Parties, CUPP, has blamed President Muhammadu Buhari for the United States visa ban placed on Nigerians. The coalition opposed political parties alleged that the ongoing insecurity, poverty, international ostracization, ethnic cleansing, religious killing, corruption, among others, including what it called electoral impunity, being allegedly orchestrated by the ruling All Progressive Congress led by the president, were the reasons for the U.S. action. The party therefore charged the president to resign. In a statement through its spokesman, Ikenga Ugochinyere, CUPP said it was shocked to receive the news of visa restrictions placed on Nigerians by the United States government. Meanwhile, the federal government has created a committee to address the issues that led to a suspension of U.S. immigrants' visas to its citizens. The president's office said this on Saturday. Nigeria was among 6 countries, 4 of them in Africa, added to a visa ban announced on Friday by U.S. government. U.S. officials said the countries failed to meet U.S. security and information sharing standards, which necessitated the new restrictions. The United States has said it notified all foreign governments, including Nigeria, about the identity management and information sharing criteria in 2019. The government stated that the Republic of Chad improved on the performance metrics and was removed from consideration for travel restrictions. The U.S. described Nigeria as one of the worst performing countries on the performance metrics, which led to the imposition of migrant visas restriction on the country. This was contained in the full report of the visa restriction titled Proclamation on Improving Enhanced Vetting Capabilities and Process, published on their website. Apart from Nigeria, others on the list are Eritrea, Myanmar, Tanzania, Sudan, and Kyrgyzstan. The new visa regime announced by the U.S. government on January the 31st involves the suspension of the issuance of immigrant visas to Nigerian passport holders. It comes to effect from February the 21st. Joining us live via telephone is Barrister Monday Ubani to discuss on this development. Good morning, Barrister. Okay, we'll come back to you shortly. Now, the phenomenon of leadership and good governance has assumed greater interest in Africa. Since the return of democratic governments to Nigeria, the need for good governance and national development have been of great concern to many Nigerians. And now, Dr. Emere Agunwa joins us in the studio to talk about the challenges of leadership and governance in Nigeria. Good morning, Dr. Emere. And good to have you here. I mean, you are a Nigerian. You are in position of leadership, as it were, and I know that you also contested at some point as a gubernatorial candidate for Imo State. How do you accept the leadership styles in Nigeria?
I think we don't have a laid-down plan for leadership. It's like what we have is people take on what works for them at home. When they get into power, they escalate that, they make that broad. Okay, but we don't have a laid-down plan on how we run the government. And I think that's a major issue because we don't have a standardized operation. There's nothing to expect of government that can be carried on to the next generation. It's not progressive. We can't see continuity. So we walk into a new regime or a new administration, everything changes, like it totally from right to left. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's what we have.
No.
We need to standardize government processes and how it's done.
Okay, so I was going to ask you my next question, which is, what are the defects? What do you see as the defects? And what is the possible solution moving forward? Because, you know, every time we talk about leadership and we see the troubles, but we're not able to find the solutions. What are the solutions?
Clearly, we have a problem with leadership, but we know the people elect their best version. Okay, so we don't really blame leaders, we blame the people. Okay, what we see is that by the end of the day, we project our best images, and our best images are corrupt officials. Everybody in this country, not everybody, but majority of everybody in this country has a level of corruption. We want to bypass processes. We don't want to follow the rules. We believe that our case is going to be different. We believe that we're going to work into the system, bypass the system, get things done, and protect the interests of people around us. I think that's one major thing we find in government. So it's actually a projection of the people that we see in government. So what we need to do is to find a way to have a proper reorientation of the people, to have a different expectation from leadership. And when we have a different expectation of leadership, the leaders will come out of the people. We are the ones that go to the ballot by the end of the day. We vote people in, and we support the ones we want to that look like us. So by the end of the day, when we talk about leadership is not another bucket of persons who are called leaders, another bucket of persons who are called followers. All of us are Nigerians, and Nigerians put their best version in power.
Okay, let's talk about the selection process for our leaders. Over time, we have seen that there are some good leaders, but good leaders has not translated to good leadership. What's the problem? Where are we getting it wrong?
The truth is that the system is big, and the system is not so good. So there's a certain level of frustration when you are going against the tide. Clearly. So, for instance, we're dealing with a country where an average person wants to influence education for his child, and that's a good guy we're talking about. That's a good guy we're talking about. That good guy is not going to let his child fail. So now he's in government. He's not going to do otherwise. And moreover, everybody seems to have some kind of skeleton in their cupboard. So we have a lot of issues that even when good people come into power, they've messed themselves up in the process of getting to power in some places. And the system has a way of holding them with that. And the truth is that the real issue is, are we ready for good governance in this country? Because if we're ready for good governance, everything is going to just tumble totally upside down. Because everything is going to change. Let's look at the criteria of selecting people into people who work in government parastatals, people who do stuff. Like, it's totally on, I have somebody in government, can you put somebody for me, can you put somebody for me? It's not the elected leaders. These ministries are there. They are the ones that hold the government. And the people who run these things in the ministry are not qualified to be there.
Unfortunately, that's all that we can say, but we'll be back to you again as I understand that we have Barrister Ubani on the line now with us. Can you hear me, Barrister? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, Barrister.
Yeah, good morning, my lovely.
Now, Barrister, I'm sure you're following the news about the visa. How do you respond to that? As soon as that news broke, how do you respond? How did you react to that?
I was a bit sad. So what I did was to get the details of the information while we were placed on ban. I found out that the ban was regards to immigration, that those who want to go and stay in America permanently, not necessarily for those who want to go on holiday or those who are going for business. That is one. But even at that, it has grave implications for us as a nation. We have so many Nigerians who are already American citizens who may be planning to bring their families over to America. And now with this new policy, they are clearly affected. They cannot succeed in immigrating to America anymore. And I was also worried. What are the reasons behind this blanket ban on over 200 million Nigerians? I found out that they are complaining about some of the governance issue, issue of leadership issue in Nigeria. And I felt that if America want to place any ban with regards to any misappropriate behavior or appropriate behavior that is not acceptable to them, Why didn't they place it against the political elites, that are currently in government, and not on all Nigerians? That's why I'm worried about it. And I had to write an article condemning that kind of blanket ban that is punishing over 200 million Nigerians as a result of whatever you call governance issue.
All right, Barrister. But do you think that we have a case, actually, as the Nigerian government? Do we have a case in this matter?
Well, our case will be made up because I understand that the government has set up a committee to review the visa ban and look at the reasons behind it, and then also probably engage the government of America in order to arrive at a situation that I would consider amicable. But I think the Americans are complaining that they have notified Nigeria before now some of the lapses in governance that they should address, and those issues were ignored. So I think that when they meet at the intergovernment level, they should be able to examine the reason behind it and see whether the ban can be lifted. But I don't know whether Nigeria will make a good case, but America is already giving reasons why they do what they did. And then one of the reasons that they have already warned Nigeria about some of the things they were complaining about, and Nigerian government never took them serious.
And as you do know, the American government also say one of the challenges is the fact that we did not comply in terms of information sharing between Nigeria and the American government. And do you agree? Are we doing well in terms of transparency in information?
Well, for me as a citizen, I am not too satisfied with the issue of information, but I don't know at the intergovernment level, I mean, between two government, two countries, I don't know what information they were supposed to give to America. They never, give. But I know that there are certain things that are not too, clear to us, even as citizens here. I understand that the terrorists who are arrested, some of them are forgiven, and not only being forgiven, they are being reintegrated into the Nigerian army. These are information that are out there. I don't know how true it is that if you arrest terrorists who are terrorizing the country, you now say you have de-radicalized them and that you have now given them amnesty. Not only are you giving them amnesty, you're also reintegrating them into your army. So that could be very, scary, for us as a people. And I don't think any government has ever denied that. So if government of America have such information and some other information, especially on the issue of your visa on arrival policy, which you have now thrown open and all that, and then giving everyone every opportunity to come into the country and all that, that also could be very dangerous. So there are issues that we as citizens are not even clear about. At the intergovernment level, I don't know how much information they were supposed to give, where they're not given to America. So these are issues the Nigerian government should actually try and sort out with America, not only America, with other nations.
Because I was just going to ask you, do you think that this will translate to other countries also issuing such kind of statements to Nigeria and putting us in a situation that we can't handle, so to speak?
Well, I've not heard any other nation, but the possibility is there that if we are not also supplying adequate information that has to do with us as a nation to other nations like the EU, like Britain and other, they may also clamp down on us and say, look, we are not happy with what is going on with you in governance. So to me, it's issue of leadership, it's issue of governance, it's issue of ensuring that, whatever you are doing, the world can, because the world has become a global place, the world should be able to know what is going on in your country. If you're not doing it right, they can also raise alarm. So it will not be too a good story if we find out that other countries are also contemplating doing what America has done on us. That will not be too good for this government. So whatever they can do in order to clear themselves, out of this mess is clearly advisable. And I'm very happy that the committee has been set up. And may they be very bold enough to advise the government appropriately, and also be bold enough to tell the government where they have gone wrong so that they can correct themselves.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Ubani, for your time this morning.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
All right. So we'll continue still with Dr. Emere, who is here in the studio with me. Now, back to the issue of governance. 2020 is here. We talked so much about 2020. We talked about Vision 2020. Everybody was talking about leadership progress. Now, this present administration, what do you expect from them this 2020 and moving forward in terms of better governance for every Nigerian?
I think what we need to do is to make the local governments work.
How do you mean?
Okay, so we are closest to local government. We have our councillors living, the wards, the councillors for the wards are a few streets around us. We need to make everybody accountable. There must be some kind of performance metrics around people in government. Councillors, House of Assembly, these are people who operate directly for us, representing us. Mm-hmm. House of Reps to the lower house, the Senate to the upper house, we have people around the local government chairman. What we need to find is an inclusive accountability system where we can hold people and make them answer questions. Mm-hmm. So first of all, if we can have accountability system, also raise more town hall, community platforms where we can raise real issues and have people who are qualified to answer. So for instance, we have a coronavirus issue, and we are not finding conversations around it in local government. And what I would like it on this is where people are. This is where we are. If not for social media that makes everybody responsible, okay, that's making everybody look into matters of government. If not for social media, this conversation would not have come up. But we are saying that these are things that government should be able to bring down. Have it in mind that we are dealing with people here. And if it's not yourself, you can't keep playing the ostrich all the time. Your families are out there, your relations are out there, things that interest you are out there. We need to find a way to have an accountability system, insist on that, and ensure that people get impeached when they don't get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much, Dr. Emere.
Thank you very much.
And the news will continue after the short break. We'll be back in a moment. In recent times, getting employment is a major testimony. Getting a fantastic job, that's a cat with all the cream. So in what world does anyone ever leave that sort of job? Well, in this world. Not Your 9 to 5 show covers all the seemingly questions and intrigues.
I can't work for anybody. Number of times I spent with shoes, I see shoes in my dreams sometimes.
I can't be waiting for salary.
I know we have a lot of challenges.
Working for people is like starting from the scratch.
We have political issues, we have socio-economic issues, we even have spiritual issues.
I don't think I can do 9 to 5 anymore. So this is not your regular 9 to 5.
It's my life, my world.
Join me, Amaka Okoye, on Not Your 9 to 5, showing on Monday 5:30 p.m. and Thursday 11:30 a.m. West African time.
Welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways.
These girls are being trafficked. Most times they are told that they're going there to work without even knowing who they're going to meet.
Absolutely. Polygamy is causing poverty, backwardness in the north. I think we should put a law. Have just one child. Working with a lot of tradesmen in Nigeria, my first few years was kind of hard, but he who pays the piper takes the tune.
The type of architecture you see in New York, you see 60, 80-story buildings, is because they have a strong economy.
What has been your biggest challenge? Availability of machines, materials. We're very, very limited in what we have.
Somebody says, oh, why am I putting in so much reinforcement? I can do it cheaper. I know the last project I did, there was no problem. You just need one bad mistake, and the implication is life.
Welcome to Tea Time on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the biggest entertainment stories and, of course, analyze them for you.
You can have both parents and still end up as a useless child. I see them every day.
Most times I worry more about where I'm coming from and where I am now, and that determines my next step.
Why are you sounding like
Alibaba
now?
Plus TV Africa, we're feeling good. No time to dull, everybody feeling alright.
Make music and people are still buying. Sometimes I look myself minimal IU.
Akpala music is for mature-minded people. I got DMs sometimes from Malawi
Sleeping early.
You're still watching Plus TV News on the Hour. And still on the national matters, the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Adams Oshiomhole, said the recent protests by the People's Democratic Party over the Imo State governorship elections and the insecurity in the country is unnecessary. Oshiomhole said they are a disturbance to public peace and an invitation to anarchy. He, however, urged members of the PDP to take their disputes to the court.
We didn't think we should go into street protest, because to join them in street protest, it's like the proverbial Igbo proverb, which says that when a madman carries your clothes while you are in the bedroom and he's trying to run away and you come out naked running after him, people will say, look at these two madmen. They will know the difference. And that is why we resisted the urge to join PDP in a street fight, because it won't make any sense. We, as a governing party, has the burden to maintain peace, to maintain law and order.
And I still have in the studio with me Dr. Emery Agonwa to talk about all that is unfolding in Imo State. Doctor, incidentally, you are from Imo State. Now, first of all, what's your reaction to the Supreme Court ruling?
Clearly, I think there's a way we look at Supreme Court. Supreme Court is Supreme Court. It's the final say. And you don't argue what the court has said. You make your case. Mm-hmm. So my reaction is that if we made a proper case, maybe we would have got a different result.
Okay.
But because we didn't make a proper case, I mean, speaking of the people or speaking of for the people who are protesting, if you want to make a proper build up to the case, let it be clear beyond all reasonable doubt that you have a proper case. Then the court rules on cases. Mm-hmm. They don't rule on sentiment or what you think is right. They rule based on what is presented as facts on the table.
Okay. Do you agree with Oshiomhole there saying that this is heading towards anarchy or push towards that direction? Do you agree?
You can't tell the people not to react, but everything has a way. Everything that has a beginning has a time to stop. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that you don't get things done by protesting on the road. Mm. The streets don't decide government.
No.
You had a chance to decide when you are casting your vote. But for some reasons, we are now in the Supreme Court. What we would have done is to build a proper case and see if there's a way of having the court to look at the matter again. And if it's possible, we'll build pressure on that system. What we're building is what they call mere sentiment. And for the truth of the matter is, it won't achieve anything.
Imo State has always been in the news, yes. Every other time we say Imo State for one reason or the other. Now, when this news broke, we also saw mass protests. People went out on the streets to protest against the ruling of the Supreme Court. So do you really think that that ruling represents the wish of the people of Imo State?
The people are not happy. Clear, that's why they're on the roads. Mm-hmm. But also, that's what I'm trying to say, because at some point, we also need to understand that there's a channel laid down to make your case. Staying on the road will not make the present administration step down. It will never happen. Mm-hmm. Getting a court ruling can change that. So instead of mounting pressures on the road, yes, you are not happy, mm-hmm. but channel your anger through the right means. And put pressure, get this whole thing. We look at the matter properly and ensure that you have a court. And I'm sure there's a date set for them this mm-hmm. month too. So the pressure shouldn't be on the streets really. Yeah, except it's for public sympathy. But public sympathies at this point cannot influence much. I'm trying to be very fair, very logical. Yes, I might say, people are really sad, let these people look at, but it won't happen like that. Mm-hmm. Everybody is sad. The system is divided. Now, the moment it rules against one, be sure you're going to find another protest on this other side. Mm-hmm. Okay, means that it is properly fair, and it can never be, nobody is that kind of messiah anymore, that the whole state wants them. But I'm saying, if you have a case, if you are angry at what's going on, you channel it through the proper means.
As an individual who's from Imo State, what do you think are the issues of your state?
Clearly, we have issues. We have issues. And we can't take it like the issues of the state. We have the issues of this generation.
Which is?
Issues of generation is that the people who are going to be next leaders are not properly informed. And the truth of the matter is that information is not really about government. It's about business, it's about workplace, it's about responsibilities. So what we have is a gap, The people who lived before and the guys who are coming behind, there's a gap. And the gap is that we're expecting everything, we're expecting government to do everything for us, while we are not building our own economic base and our own network base. We are not doing anything. So the problem is there. The problem is not really what you put on the government. Yes, the government can help make this thing a lot easier, but the problem is the people. I speak a lot as an insider. I speak a lot as an insider. The problem is the people. We can't find the people doing stuff that will put the state on the map.
Moving forward, what do you anticipate for Imo State in terms of good governance?
Clearly, the truth is that we're getting there. I mean, the road is turbulent. Clearly, we're getting there. It's going to get better by the end of the day. And I'm not the only one that is smart in the state. We have a couple of other smart people in the state. All we're saying is that with time, the bad system is going to flow out. The proper systems are flowing in. And I'm optimistic because the state we're industrious, we're happy people, and we're optimistic that this is going to be about the last phase of this kind of turbulence in government. And before you know what's happening, we're going to usher in new systems of smarter people, logical people who want to drive the state forward.
All right, thank you so very much, Dr. Emery, for coming and sharing your thoughts on the matters generally. And Dr. Emery is a social commentator, and he's been discussing with us. Now we'll continue with the stories. There are strong indications that the southwest states are planning to set up anti-corruption units in their security outfit, Operation Amotekun. The units in each state, it was gathered, would handle cases of graft and abuse of power leveled against operatives of Amotekun. It was learned that the Amotekun bills, which were being drafted by the states, would make provisions for either an anti-graft unit or an ombudsman to check the excesses of the operatives. It was gathered that the unit or the ombudsman, depending on the preference of each state, would receive complaints on cases such as bribery, extortion, misuse of power, human rights abuses, and other complaints leveled against any member of Operation Amotekun. The Ekiti State Attorney General Wale Fapohunda confirmed there would be anti-corruption provisions in the proposed Amotekun law. Explaining highlights of the proposed law, Fapohunda said, and I quote, "There must be anti-corruption provisions in the law. The proposed law must have citizens' complaints provisions, including a framework for an independent ombudsman with strong authority to receive complaints from the public on matters of corruption and abuse of power," end of quote. Recall that the Southwest governors had at a summit in Ibadan on January the 9th agreed to set up Operation Amotekun to address killings and kidnapping in the zone. Now, still on national matters, the wife of a Kaduna-based Dr. Philip Ataga has been found dead barely 7 days after she was kidnapped alongside her 2 kids. The deceased, who was abducted after gunmen broke into their home at Juji community in Chukun local government area of the state, was reportedly killed over the failure of her husband to pay 150 million naira ransom. Though the current state of the Kaduna-based doctor's children is still unknown, the state's police spokesperson, DSP Yakubu Sabo, told reporters that the woman's bullet-ridden body was found inside a bush in Kakao area along Abuja-Kaduna highway. While a manhunt has been launched to arrest the kidnappers, corpse of the deceased has been evacuated and deposited in a mortuary. About 3 persons have lost their lives, with many others displaced following a land dispute in Tiomu, Makadi in Benue State. Over 37 houses were set ablaze, while properties worth millions of naira were destroyed as settlers and indigenous residents in the community engaged in a clash.
We have a feeling that the traditional rulers are behind this matter. It cannot be hidden. I'm very sad that we have reached this level. The level of destruction my people have suffered is something that is unimaginable. This is completely unprovoked attack on my people, and I'm calling on government to investigate this thoroughly.
We are not indigenous here. Then we come to claim ownership of this land. So they say we should go. This thing started last year. I want government to protect us and give us security so that our life will be safe.
This thing was pushed to the first class chief covering this area. That's the way I have tried. From my own end here, I couldn't solve it till we reach to that place. And Lastly, it was yesterday that we were in SSG's office that this actually happened in Manet.
Yesterday we were at a meeting, and the meeting is continuing. We had a meeting with all the members of the community when this thing actually they started. We got the information that started this level of destruction. So we had to adjourn the meeting for today. Right now, we're going back to continue that meeting to map out strategies that we think will be permanently set to this matter.
And away from that story now, General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, Enoch Adeboye, on Sunday led members of his church in a prayer walk against insecurity in Nigeria. Pastor Adeboye had directed the congregation to participate in the prayer walk declared by the Christian Association of Nigeria to address the spate of killings across the country. According to an Assistant General Overseer of the church, Funso Odeshola, about 25,000 parishes of the church are expected to carry out the same exercise nationwide. CAN President Samson Ayokunle earlier announced a series of activities aimed at asking for divine intervention in stopping the killing of innocent Nigerians and giving the government the capacity to overcome terror in the country. Earlier on, Plus TV Africa spoke with a security analyst from London, Femi Aratokun Ali, and he reacted to the security situation in the country.
Good day, fellow Nigerians. Mothers, fathers, men, women, faith leaders, the federal governments, well-meaning Nigerians all over the world. The present insecurity situation in Nigeria has gotten to a stage whereby we need to start thinking outside the box. We cannot continue to pay lip services and see people dying constantly. Who are they? We really don't know. Are they foreigners? Are they Nigerians? We don't know who is who anymore. The present protest from the faith leaders today is a different ballgame entirely. It's never happened before, and now we're beginning to see it. We have made so many proposals, so many ideas given to them in terms of security strategy training to mitigate all these killings going on within the CAN Association and so many other churches around the world and even in Nigeria as a whole. But I think they are now getting the message that it is not just the member of public alone, it can happen to anyone. Now the war has been directed and is now targeting the faith followers. It could be the Muslims, it could be the Christian, it could be anyone. For Pastor Adeboye to have come out openly and walk the walk of we are in their need of proper security says a whole lot in the Nigerian system today. We don't need to rely solely on the Nigerian police or the Nigerian military or the naval forces or the air forces to help us anymore. We now need to strategically think that how do we protect and secure ourselves? Federal governments, to my own understanding, they've done so well. President Muhammadu Buhari has done his best. All governors are putting hands together, are thinking alike that what is the proper way out from this. We are not far from the truth. We are just a country that we only like and we love just to react to situations. We are not ready to be proactive. What we are going through in Nigeria, other countries all over the world, some of them, let me put it that way, they've gone through it before. One way or the other, they are mitigating the threat. But in Nigeria, are we actually mitigating the threat? The answer is no. But are we paying lip services? The answer is yes. Are we partisan about security in Nigeria? The truth is yes, we are partisan about security in Nigeria. And the result is what we're seeing today. So many churches will say, oh, security belongs to God. God is not going to come down and help us solve this. It is a thing, it is a problem. We need to look for a solution within ourselves. Even if we call the white people to come and help us, they are not going to bring their people down here. They're still going to use our own people to do it. All they're going to do is give us the ideas, then leave it to us and collect our money. So in a way, some people are making gains out of this situation we are. It is now an epidemic that we need to look into how best to deal with it. Christians, Muslims, this is not just a fight for a particular person or to a particular group. It is a collective fight. It is a collective problem, and we need to tackle it collectively. I will only please beg the federal government, the state government, the Khan Association, the Muslim Association as well. Let us think outside the box. Let us restructure the security architectural system in Nigeria. Let us start looking into community policing, church system of policing. All this stuff has got to be done. Market system of policing, environmental system of policing. Our roadways, our railways, our every corners has got to be well policed. But we're not thinking in the way we should do it. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians, I think no matter what we say, it is not just by talking, but it's by putting our talk into action. Thank you so much.
Yes, we'll continue after the short break. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.
In a world of overwhelming voices, where everyone has something to say,
it is important that we bring the core issues to the fore.
As we lend our voices to inspire, inform, influence, and provoke your thoughts and action.
We want to hear these issues and know what you are saying. This is not just women talking.
It is an evocative program that touches the core of our existence.
We take on topics some may consider taboo and want to sweep under the carpet.
We understand that what touches one touches all. We know you have a lot to say, so let's hear you.
That money we shoot every person that we know we can shoot. We don't let people die there.
You could have killed us for a long period of time.
Is that time why I carry gonorrhea? I first go hospital first, but you no go. Now I come make that mama.
He just pulled it, he pointed and shot.
What is the soul of a man?
They suffer too much. They suffer too much.
Issues around the Nigerian police, we have to tackle it holistically.
Thank you for staying with us. We'll progress the conversation on insecurity in the country, still with Dr. Emerie, who is still with me in the studio. You watched that video and you heard the security analyst there talking about the challenges. What do you think we're not getting right in terms of security in the country right about now?
We're not getting a whole lot of things right, but let's start from the ones that are very basic. The police system, the police force is wrong. We don't have enough. We're understaffed in the police force. We're a country of 200 million, and
in fact, some say it's 200 plus.
200 plus million, and I mean, here we are not properly staffed, and we are understaffed. So the ones we have are not that good, and here we are. We're also dealing with low number of people who are not good, and here we are dealing with intelligence in police force. Every system can be traced. there's nothing it's not rocket science. We can get this thing fixed if we want to fix it. Okay, just look at the state of our Nigerian police system. They can't even tap a call. They can't even trace a call. They can't even intercept stuff like that. They don't use choppers. They don't have a way of zoning in, having area views of places and documenting stuff as it goes. So I think a lot of things. What we are operating is a 2020 Nigeria with a 1985 model. Clearly, it won't work. It won't work. So the security infrastructure in Nigeria needs to get a total overhaul, complete. Everything needs to change.
All right. Some people have also said it's not just the government alone. We also, as individuals, collectively, as a community, or as a people, we have a duty, a role to play. What do you think? How should we go about it? You know, some people will say, if you see something, say something. Does that really work in our situation here in Nigeria?
It should be able to work, but the government must admit that they failed. Then we help them. But we can't drop all the taxes and still do the job of the police force. Yes, if you see anything, if you sense anything, there should be like a short code number, a 911 or something to call, emergency number. But here we are, we don't have any functional number. You might even call and it's not available and stuff like that.
So no one is picking up.
So when you see something, how do you say something? On my own credit, it should be toll free. So we're having these conversations on a country that is totally low in economic budget, and you're also giving them responsibilities to work for you. I mean, there's a whole lot going on. But I think that if we are dealing with, we're going to help out for this to fix this whole thing, then the government should be able to say, hey, we're out of options here. Can you help us? If you see anything, why not send you through here? But okay, what's the possibility? What's the chance that if you send it, you won't be victimized? Because we've seen that in this country too. So you are the first person to report the crime scene, and here you are detained till you find out who the guys are. And these are the reasons why Nigerians are not keen on helping the government, because whether we like it or not, the transparency, we're not very transparent when dealing with the people. And until police becomes our friend, then we can't.
Indeed. Yeah. And then lastly, you saw the video. I'm sure you also saw the walk, the protest walk, or prayer walk, as you like to call it, yesterday. Is it just divine intervention, or is divine intervention all that we need, or we need to move forward? Because some people are saying Nigeria has got a spiritual problem. Do you think that's the reality?
What we have is a mental problem, not a spiritual one, because spirituality means that when you ask God for something, you should be able to know the answer when it comes. Now, you've asked God for a solution to the insecurity problem. The solution might actually be fixing your police force. Mm-hmm. Okay, you don't expect somebody to swoop in from heaven and hey, everybody's already falling under one kind of fire. No, it doesn't happen like that. Okay, we need to get into this. Now, I don't want to turn this to a spiritual thing, but we need to learn how to take our spiritual answers and process them into physical stuff. Mm-hmm. Because when somebody says something or answers you spiritually, it might actually be a working police force. That's the answer. Okay, it might actually be a well-equipped police system. Okay, so after the prayer work, did anybody do needs analysis on the gaps, equipment gaps in the police force? Did anybody do a needs analysis on the information gap, or capacity gap, or competence gap? Hey, God is not going to use all. I don't want to laugh at that, but they can't undermine the place of spirituality. But what more? As you can see, we can't find God's address in this country. So I don't know where we're going to go knock at his door to make sure he fixes it there.
All right. Thank you so very much again for your thoughts. And we shall move to the African scenes, where Somalia declared the invasion of locusts as a national emergency on Sunday. Locusts have devastated food supplies in one of the poorest and most vulnerable regions of the world. A statement by Somalia's Agriculture Ministry said the move is due to current upsurge of locusts, which constitute a major threat to the fragile food security in the country. The statement added that food sources for people and their livestock are under threat as a result. Somalia is the first nation in East Africa to embark on a national mobilization drive to combat the swarm of locusts. And that will be it on the African scenes. Coming up next will be the foreign news. And on the foreign scenes, hundreds of hospital workers in Hong Kong have gone on strike, demanding the border with mainland China to be completely closed to reduce the risk of the coronavirus spreading. Hong Kong has suspended cross-border rail and ferry services, but health workers want a total border closure. Authorities say closing the border completely would go against advice from the World Health Organization. There have been 15 confirmed cases of the virus in the city. And that's it on the foreign scenes. Up next is the business news. And in business, oil prices extended their losses on Monday, dragged down by rising concerns about lower demand in China, the world's largest oil importer, following the coronavirus outbreak. Brent and U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell for a fourth week in a row following flights cancellation to China. Supply chains across the world's second largest economy have also been disrupted, prompting its biggest refiner, Sinopec, to cut output. Brent crude was at $56.14 a barrel, down 48 cents after losing nearly 12% in January. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 24 cents to $51.32 a barrel after earlier hitting a session low of $50 a barrel. China's measures to support its economy might help to put a floor under oil prices in the short term, even though the outlook for oil demand remains bearish, said Michael McCarthy, Chief Market Strategist at CMC Markets in Sydney. And that's it, and also our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. We will be back again with more stories making the headlines. Join us again. I am Amaka Okoye.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
PET is turning waste PET bottles into construction materials.
Lagos produces about 30,000 tons of plastics waste in just a day, and only 30% of that is recycled.
Every time you pass a pile of plastics, you pass a job opportunity.
At a first glance, this garage doesn't look like a factory, but more like a scrapyard. However, these young Africans have found success as they convert plastic waste to bricks for construction.
PET initiative is a project that came out from a project called Recreate. We started from the collection process first, collecting PET bottles from our environment, and then we now decided, oh, okay, what can we do with these bottles? We are like, we can actually make something valuable from it. So that's how the idea of PET actually came.
We discovered that plastics were a big problem in the environment. But what everybody knew the problem as was plastic pollution. Now, we took a closer look to find out what was the root cause of plastic waste pollution, and we discovered that it was improper plastic waste disposal.
And let me make it practical. 1 kg of waste plastics is equal to 50 bottles. Now, can you imagine how many bottles is created? 30 tons. Like, just picture it, imagine. So we saw this as a problem, and a problem that really needed a solution.
There was no innovation in the recycling industry. What most recycling companies would do is they would gather the waste and send it off to foreign countries to convert. So we had no innovation here, and that was where we came in.
This innovative group have found a solution to addressing the bedeviling issue of environmental pollution caused by the large mass of non-degradable plastic waste and, in effect, creating more sustainable and durable construction materials.
We met Standard Organization of Nigeria to test our bricks. They gave us validation that it's actually stronger than the conventional one by compressive strength, water absorption, and a lot of other tests. So it's really an amazing project, and we actually are excited towards the impact it will have in Nigeria and also the world at large.
If you take a look at the building industry, cement is the most significant material you use, right? And replacing that with plastics, because once you're building something, you need a binding agent, that is cement. Now, we replace that binding agent for plastics. This is where the first stage of the production starts. So here we get a lot of plastics from different women that have been cooking for us. Over 20 women have gathered this amount of plastics for us. So now that he has gotten it into the sack, we just weigh it, then he transfers it into the production pan. So the beauty about this is we don't even have to clean these plastics because they are waste plastics. If we clean them, they're not waste plastics anymore. They are now processed materials. So production is very easy. Here he's now transferring the plastics inside. As you can see, it's turning to color black. So why it's black is because the plastics are burning. So it burns to an extent where it has reached its elastic limit. So then we can start putting the sand inside. So as we keep putting plastics, we wait till everything is liquid. So right now it's getting to about 260 degrees. So as he's pouring the sand into the mixture, it gets kind of thick. So constantly we keep stirring over and over and over again. So it gets to that viscous level because we just observe to an extent where we know, okay, it's ready for us to pour inside. For us to mass produce this, we have to come up with a better production process. So we came up with a machine prototype. One of our team members, a mechanical engineering student, designed a machine that can mix the ratio to which we wanted. This machine is being heated up by an electric power supply. It consumes about 24 kilowatts per hour. So that's a lot of energy to get these plastics into the state that we want. So for now, this is what we use, and it has been working well for us. So we shake it for any air molecules to escape. From the few tests we conducted, the compressive strength was 3 times higher than the normal concrete bricks, which means you can use these bricks for bridges, for construction sites that required a lot of machines that have a lot of weight, because in different parts of certain communities, you have a lot of machines go there and they damage the road. So if you have a brick this strong in those areas, which means that it would increase the lifespan, it would increase the duration to which there is road maintenance.
Plastics are especially problematic if not collected and managed properly. They do not biodegrade and could take 500 years or more to fully decompose. Hence the need for initiatives such as this, which leaves us in a better environment, creating more sustainable building materials and shrinking unemployment figures. For Plus TV Africa, Irene Ubani.
Hear the stories making the headlines.
The Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. I'm here at Yunus Bashorin Street where
the fire destroyed our transformer completely.
The lowest level you can.
Africa, the big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
That morning, we shoot every person that we know we can shoot. We don't let people die there.
You could have killed us for a long period of time.
Is that time why I carry gonorrhea? I first go hospital first, but it no go. Now I come make that mama.
He just pulled it, he pointed and shot.
What is the soul of a man?
They suffer too much. They suffer too much.
Issues around the Nigerian police, we have to tackle it holistically.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
In recent times, getting employment is a major testimony. Getting a fantastic job, that's a cat with all the cream. So in what world does anyone ever leave that sort of job? Well, in this world. Not Your 9 to 5 show covers all the seemingly questions and intrigues.
I can't work for anybody. Number of times I spent with shoes, I see shoes in my dreams sometimes.
I can't be waiting for salary.
I know we have a lot of challenges.
Working for people is like starting from the scratch.
We have political issues, we have socio-economic issues, we even have spiritual issues.
I don't think I can do 9 to 5 anymore. So this is not your regular 9 to 5.
It's my life, my world.
Join me, Amaka Okoye, on Not Your 9 to 5, showing on Monday 5:30 p.m. and Thursday 11:30 a.m. West African time. Many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. Here are the stories making the headlines. I am Amaka Okoye. The Senate has said it will seek the opinion of stakeholders on the foreign loan borrowing plans of President Muhammadu Buhari. The 8th National Assembly had rejected the president's proposed borrowing of $29.96 billion because the proposal was not accompanied by expenditure details. Buhari presented the request again to the 9th National Assembly for its consideration and approval in November of 2019. The president of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, had assured Buhari that his request would be granted even when the legislative protocol had not been carried out on it. Lawan's position did not go down well with members of the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Loans, who had been asked to scrutinize the documents and advise the Senate on the next step to take. Feelers from some members who last year had spoken on condition of anonymity showed that they were no longer interested in the approval process. Now, the coalition of the United Political Parties, CUPP, has blamed President Muhammadu Buhari for the United States visa ban placed on Nigerians. The coalition opposition political parties allege that the ongoing insecurity, poverty, international ostracization, ethnic cleansing, religious killing, corruption, among others, includes what it called electoral impunity being allegedly orchestrated by the ruling All Progressive Congress led by President Muhammadu Buhari were the reasons for the U.S. action. The party therefore charged the president to resign. In a statement through a spokesperson, Ikenga Ugochinyere, CUPP, said it was shocked to receive the news of visa restriction placed on Nigerians by the United States government. Meanwhile, the federal government has created a committee to address the issues that led to a suspension of U.S. immigrant visas to its citizens, the president's office said on Saturday. Nigeria was among 6 countries, 4 of them in Africa, added to a visa ban announced on Friday by the U.S. government. U.S. officials said the countries failed to meet U.S. security and information sharing standards, which necessitated the new restrictions. The United States has said that it notified all foreign governments, including Nigeria, about the identity management and information sharing criteria in 2019. The government stated that the Republic of Chad improved on the performance metrics and was removed from consideration for travel restrictions. The U.S. describes Nigeria as one of the worst performing countries of the performance metrics, which is said led to the imposition of migrant visa restriction on the country. This was contained in the full report of the visa restriction titled Proclamation on Improving Enhanced Vetting Capabilities and Process, published on their website. Now, apart from Nigeria, others on the list are Eritrea, Myanmar, Tanzania, Sudan, and Kyrgyzstan. The new visa regime announced by the U.S. government on January the 31st involves the suspension of the issuance of immigrant visas to Nigerian passport holders, and it comes into effect on February the 21st rather. And still with me in the studio is Dr. Emere Agumwa to still look at this issue. Now, first of all, do you think this is an issue of image or reputation problem that we have as a country?
I don't think so. I think every country like the U.S. has every right to have information sharing. People, especially migrant visas, this is not all kinds of visas.
Yes.
Okay, and it's necessary. And when they put out expectations, I expect that a country like Nigeria should be able to work hard to meet up with that expectations. So I don't see it as an image problem. I see it really as it's not about the whole issue of corruption or Nigerians laundering money and co. I don't think that this is a standard procedure that I think Nigeria did not take serious.
Earlier on, before we came on, you were talking about the real issues, so which is security and all of that. So let's talk about that. How do we get out of this? Because clearly, the truth is that whatever happens to the government happens to the people because we directly are affected. So what are these issues that we need to take a look at again?
First of all, if you look at document says it's temporary suspension. Okay, means that it's something that if you fix, you would get.
So there's a ray of hope.
Yes, but much more than that. I think we've not taken the whole Nigerian conversation a lot seriously, okay, because the issue is there's expectation from government, expectation from the people. And we don't know who's expecting from who, but it seems like the government has a lot of expectation from people and the people have a lot of expectation by the government. And what that means is that nobody is doing their own part. Okay, so what it means is that well-meaning Nigerians can offer up if the government can open up about these issues at hand, and private sector can come in and help government solve their problems and solve their image problem. We have security issues, and these security issues are not about life and death alone. They are financial security issues. A lot of security issues. There's trust issues in this country. You cannot trust a Nigerian, and this is something that the government can fix. Policy-wise, and the people can fix performance-wise. And if two of us can marry somewhere, maybe this whole restriction thing, that I tell you, there are a lot of countries that were not considered at all for restrictions. But why are we part of the ones considered at all? Let's even forget whether we made it, we scaled out. Why are they considering us? Because we failed. And we must admit that we failed, and we start fixing these issues. The issues are a lot sensitive, okay, and they are very sensitive issues, and not things you can just wake up and put rule a line on it, and everybody gets on board on it. But it's something that we need to start fixing. Ideology. What makes us Nigerians? What do we hold? What is it that holds us together? What is it that we value much more than ethnic divide and religious divide and personal gains? I think that's about that.
All right, thank you so very much for all your thoughts this morning, being with us from the morning hours. Well, the news will continue, and there are strong indications that the Southwest states are planning to set up anti-corruption units in their security outfit, which is Operation Amotekun. The unit in each state, it was gathered, would handle cases of graft and abuse of power leveled against operatives of Amotekun. It was learned that the Amotekun bills, which were being drafted by the states, would make provisions for either an anti-graft unit or an ombudsman to check the excesses of the operatives. It was gathered that the unit or the ombudsman, depending on the preference of each state, would receive complaints on cases such as bribery, extortion, misuse of power, human rights abuses, and other complaints leveled against any member of Operation Amotekun. The Ekiti State Attorney General Wale Fapohunda confirmed there would be anti-corruption provisions in the proposed Amotekun law. Explaining the highlights of the proposed law, he said there must be anti-corruption provisions in the law. The proposed law must have citizens' complaints provisions, including a framework for an independent ombudsman with strong authority to receive complaints from the public on matters of corruption and abuse of power. End of quote. Recall that the Southwest governors had, at a summit in Ibadan on January the 9th, agreed to set up Operation Amotekun to address killings and kidnappings in the zone. Still on national matters, about 3 persons have lost their lives, with many others displaced, following a land dispute in Tiomo Makade in Benue State. Over 37 houses were set ablaze, while properties worth millions of naira were destroyed as settlers and indigenous residents in the community engaged in a clash.
We have a feeling that the traditional rulers are behind this matter. It cannot be hidden. I'm very sad that we have reached this level. The level of destruction my people have suffered is something that is unimaginable. This is completely unprovoked attack on my people, and I'm calling on government to investigate this thoroughly.
We are not indigenous here. Then we come to claim ownership of this land. So they say we should go. This thing started last year. I'm coming to protect us and give us security so that our life will be safe.
This thing was pushed to the first class chief covering this area. That's the way I have tried. From my own end here, I couldn't solve it till we reached to that place. And lastly, it was yesterday that we were in SSG's office that this actually happened in Manet.
Yesterday we were at a meeting, and the meeting is continuing. We had a meeting with all the members of the community when this thing actually started. We got the information that started this level of destruction. So we had to adjourn the meeting for today. Right now, we're going back to continue that meeting to map out strategies that we think will be permanently set to this matter once and for all.
Now, the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Enoch Adeboye, on Sunday led members of his church in a prayer walk against insecurity in Nigeria. Pastor Adeboye had directed the congregation to participate in prayer walk declared by the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, to address the spate of killings across the country. According to an Assistant General Overseer of the church, Fonsho Odeshola, about 25,000 parishes of the church are expected to carry out the same exercise nationwide. CAN President Samson Ayokunle earlier announced a series of activities aimed at asking for divine intervention in stopping the killing of innocent Nigerians and giving the government the capacity to overcome terror in the country. Earlier on, Plus TV Africa spoke with Pastor Itwa Igado on the matter.
Well, the immediate trigger was the killing of the pastor in the Middle Belt recently, the head of CAN there. Right. That was the immediate trigger. But it had been brewing for quite a while, where it seems as if a lot of the killings, especially in the Middle Belt and up north, have been lopsided towards the Christians. Even today, a young Christian Reverend Father was also killed. Okay, some other person's wife was abducted. So the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria called a 3-day fast and prayer and said it should should be ended on Sunday with a protest march throughout the streets of wherever you are.
Right.
So we follow that instruction. We did our fast. We're fasting anyway.
Right. Yes.
We did our prayers. And then we also led a protest march down Ligalia Henry Day, through Victoria Island, down City of David Road, back. And then we did some prayers as we went along and pronounced some blessings over Nigeria. And also invoked the Spirit of the Almighty to come and bring peace in this country. We don't want this country divided on the basis of religion. We don't want this company exposed and compromised by lack of security. You know, one of the biggest failings of this government right now is their seeming inability to deal with the security issues in our country. And it is getting almost worse on a daily basis. In the time of President Jonathan, we had challenges, we were a bit worried, we're a bit concerned, but now it seems as if we're almost helpless. You know, I was born in Ibadan, I grew up in Ibadan. Even as a young child, I would leave Lagos at 9 p.m., go to Ibadan. I went to King's College initially, and then I'll just leave and go travel anywhere. My cousin traveled from our village in Isha to Ibadan, and he came by himself, was 8 years old. I said, how did you come?
Do that now.
He says, anybody who has a mouth doesn't get lost. I can never forget that. But last year, for the first time, I agonized
going to Ibadan. Wow.
Because some people have been kidnapped in Ijebu.
Just along the road. Even on the Ibadan Express,
on the expressway. It never used to happen. You might find the odd arm robber trying to shoot at your car, blah, 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 which has happened to me. But that you are kidnapped. Children coming from University of Ife were kidnapped. A friend's wife went to visit in Benin. Between the airport road, she was kidnapped and held hostage for 2 weeks. I mean, it's unbelievable. And we seem helpless. No arrest, no warrant of arrest, nobody charged. Some people even say we are the ones responsible. They say it, and nobody does it.
Nothing happens to them.
How can a man come out and say, I did this? And you know him, you know his house, you know everything, and you keep quiet. And you don't round him up and put him in detention and ask him more questions and say, are you okay or are you not okay? How come you came out publicly to say that you did something and everybody keeps quiet? The plan, you know, one of the problems of Nigeria in the past is that a lot of people who should be united have not been united. The church has not been united. A lot of our pastors and leaders are building empires, small empires in little caves, thinking that it will be well with them. It cannot be well with everybody, where you have no country, where you have no security, where people cannot go about their businesses on a daily basis. So the first thing is that the church must unite against a common front. What do we want in Nigeria? We want peace, we want security, we want good leadership.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter where you come from, but you must be capable, you must be competent, you must be exposed, you must be passionate about Nigeria. And sometimes it may require that you die for this country. You know, every good move, somebody dies. Christ died for Christianity. Okay? Mandela died for South Africa. A lot of people have died for the sake. Martin Luther King died for America and the black race.
And the black people.
We must be, you know, any leader who is not exposed, who is not well-read, who is not passionate about Nigeria, who is not detribalized, who is not ready to do what it needs to run this country, shouldn't even try it. We are not going to agree anymore in this country that just anybody will just wake up and say, I want to be president. From where to where? You must prove that you have the skill, the competence, the passion, the exposure, the energy, and the knowledge to govern 200 million of some of the most brilliant people in the world. And then we are begging the issues about leadership, and we're all sitting down, we're folding our hands. Again, this country must be restructured. Let everybody develop according to their pace. Let everybody benefit of the resources that they have. Put something in the center, can be 20%, can be 30%. 60, it can be 40, but keep what you have to develop your own place. Why are people afraid of that? That is what we grew up on. When I grew up, the Northerners had the cotton, they had groundnuts, they were doing well. We grew up on cocoa, with free education on cocoa. The Easterners had palm kernel and palm nuts. What is the problem? Those things are still there, even more today. There's gold, there's bitumen, there's bauxite, there's manganese. In the north, they are mineral rich. Why can't we develop those minerals and use it to run our country? If I was president of Nigeria, we would not import food. Why? If you can't eat it, if you can't grow it, don't eat it. Why should we import food?
Pastor Itwa Ighodalo weighing on those matters in an earlier Plus TV Africa program. The news will continue after the short break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. And we'll go to Somalia and the African scenes, where it has declared the invasion of locusts as a national emergency on Sunday. Locusts have devastated food supplies in one of the poorest and most vulnerable regions of the world. A statement by Somalia's Agriculture Ministry said the move is due to current upsurge of locusts, which constitute a major threat to the fragile food security in the country. The statement added that food sources for people and their livestock are under threat. Somalia is the first nation in East Africa to embark on a national mobilization drive to combat the swarm of locusts. And that will be it on this hour on African Scenes. Coming up next is the foreign news. On the foreign scenes, hundreds of hospital workers in Hong Kong have gone on strike, demanding the border with mainland China to be completely closed to reduce the risk of coronavirus